All right. Apologize for that slightly late start. Apparently, whenever my wife came home, I put the dog food in the wrong place, and I had to help her hunt it down. I guess I was doing something else at the same time, so I'm back now. All good. Dog is being fed. You might notice some things have changed just a little bit. I'm trying to uh, market my company that I want to build in the future more. I finally made my logo. Uh, it's this bad boy up here, Chimera. And so I'm kind of starting this series now of me explaining about what the games are going to be in the future, about how the story's going to work, and just what all's going to go down. Um, Sorry, I just wanted to double check the audio was still working. So the goal is to create a company called Chimera. There's a threefold symbolism that comes with that. The first form of the symbolism is that the Chimera in Greek mythology was a three-headed monster. It was very infamous, very well known, very dangerous, and that sort of thing. Um, but it was three creatures as one entity, and they all worked perfectly in unison. And funny enough, the goat head was probably the most dangerous one because it spewed fire. But all that aside, the goal is I wanted to make it so that everything that went on for them. Oh, sorry. Okay, good. For some reason, I thought whenever I switched over to the image, the microphone wasn't picking up. So, anyways, the goal is that whenever I make my own gaming studio, which I've touched on a little bit last recording, I want to create it to the point of I am in complete unison with my team. The people I'm working with and I are in such good communication. We are separate beings, but as one entity. It's just a symbolism of unity and just formidability. And so that's kind of the main theme of the Chimera, being the logo of the studio. The other theme is that I want to be able to emphasize that the games are fully designed in like full focus. I know I'm not being very descriptive here. I'm just a little tired, sorry. Um, Basically, I want it to be just as unified as if they were separate entities. So, the Lionhead being single player, um, the Goat Head being PvE or player versus environment, which is kind of the game mode I'm making here in Fortnite right now, and then PvP, player versus player, the the trifecta of gaming basically. And so I want to be able to create each one in a strong unity, but also be able to stand on their own, if that makes sense. I want the quality to be able to surpass what a lot of other gaming companies I feel like are becoming lax on. So, um, for example, Star Wars Outlaws. I've heard a lot of mixed reviews about it. I've heard a lot more negative reviews about it, and it's mainly about the story was boring, the graphics are bad, but there were some good things about it. Like there were points of the story that were actually really good, and I tend to struggle whenever it comes to storyline because some shows that I watch they don't follow the lore very well for me, or some do follow the lore, and then I have to take a step back and realize that what I know or what I think I know is not lore accurate, and I just had my expectations a lot higher than they should be. Or I guess not higher. I just had different expectations. That's how it was whenever Joker came out. I thought it was going to be an awful movie, and I didn't like it going in. But that's because I had expectations it was going to be bad. But I digress. Star Wars Outlaws has been a rather large disappointment, and I feel like a wake up call for a lot of gamers to realize that these big companies like Ubisoft or even Arrowhead around that turn whenever they were working with PlayStation, that they've forgotten what a lot of large gaming companies started off doing. Just making games for the sake of the entertainment. Yes, they could make a living off of it, but the money was not the main reason they were doing everything, if that makes sense. Um, for example, with Ubisoft kind of going off the rails here recently, their Assassin's Creed games are becoming boring, I suppose. They're not listening to their players. It almost just feels like they're just putting out more games for the sake of hoping you keep your Ubisoft membership. And it's lazy. I would keep my membership if their games kept on with strong storylines and good gameplay. Um, that's why I still hang around Warframe. That's why I still hang around Fortnite. They're games that the companies actually listen to their players and they provide good quality content. Some people are saying that Epic Games, the creators of Fortnite, some people are saying that Epic Games has really become lax in their control over Fortnite. If anything, I feel like they're resting on their laurels, but there's nothing wrong with that. They've built a game that won't die. This is the next Minecraft, you could say. If it does die, it comes back in waves. I have left and come back to Fortnite so many times, and almost every time I've really enjoyed it. And so, what I want to do with my company is I want to take that another step further. And this is the reason for this YouTube channel. I want to be able to listen directly to fans, to subscribers, to supporters. And so, whenever it comes to how I want to conduct my games and my communication, it comes to be very much about the consumer. I want to bring it back to the players. And a lot of game companies don't do that. They don't want to do that. I feel like Call of Duty might have done that whenever whenever they made the new Black Ops, Black Ops 6. That game, or was it? Oh, I don't remember what this one is. I think it's 6. Yeah, because Cold War was technically the 5th one. So Black Ops 6 has been doing pretty well, and it only just released. Warhammer's doing really well, and it only just released. And there's so many games that are coming out next year that I'm actually excited for. It's like some companies are actually waking up. I feel like the whole debacle with Helldivers and PlayStation really woke up some companies to realize that players do have control over the gaming market. No matter how much money they get from political uh, stations or politically correct positions, no matter how many money, excuse me, no matter how much money they get from these big companies, their main demographic and their main source of income is the players. And I don't think they really wanted to admit that, but that's where we're at now. So that's where I want to take everything. I want to be able to communicate with players directly. I plan on doing what Warframe and Helldivers did, where they played with their players, they played with their demographic, and they just listened. They just listened to what people wanted. That's what I'm here for. Before I even get to make my game, I want to be able to listen to you guys and hear what you guys want, because quite honestly, as much as I love playing video games, there's been a lot more people out there who've played video games longer than I have. And I even realize right now that people are probably not even going to watch this video, but I'm going to harp on this every video I make. And until I get some actually good editing software, I don't feel like there's a whole lot I can do other than just keep at it, you know? So that's what I want this whole thing to be. I want Chimera to be a form of unity between me, my workers, and the community. I want us three to be in perfect unison to make good games. And I know it's ironic choosing a creature of Greek mythology for a Christian company, but that all kind of leads into the game I want to make, which is the game we're going to talk about today, Cryptid Codex. I'm really excited about this game. I've been working on this game for a while, more so just the story so far. While I talk to you about this, I am going to also keep working on the game mode. But now, I want to build it up some more, and I'm going to actually make a lobby, pregame lobby, that connects all of the levels or all the game modes into one area. And so I think we're gonna start with. I don't want anything too fancy. I want it to be small. We're gonna do Oasis. It's small enough. So, Pre-game. It's hard to type on an Xbox remote, by the way. Once I have my actual computer built, I'm hoping that I can actually start working from there, and it'll be a lot better, a lot simpler. So we'll let this load up. So the idea I got for Cryptid Codex, this other game I want to make, it was actually inspiration from a a podcast channel that is called Blurry Creatures. If you haven't heard of it, you need to go look at it. It's fantastic. I love listening to their stuff. I'm hoping to do a listen party sometime and show you my favorite episodes. It's great content for creators who want to make monster or mythology-based games or creations. Blurry Creatures, go check it out. It's fantastic. I love it. So they had one episode that was called the Chimeras, and that was such a cool concept because it is all about how chimeras could just be the Nephilim from the Bible. If you don't know the Nephilim, I will go ahead and pull up the. I'm gonna go ahead and grab my Bible on my phone. The Nephilim or Nephilim or Nephilim, as I've heard in all different forms, they are angels, essentially fallen angels who slept with humanity. They found the here, I'll just pull it up. I don't want to misspeak because whenever I'm talking through YouTube and I'm also trying to multitask, sometimes I'll misspeak. So I'm just going to go ahead and look this up before I completely say the wrong word. Okay, so Numbers 13, chapter 33. We even saw the Nephilim there. The descendants of Anak come from the Nephilim. To ourselves we seemed like grasshoppers, and we must have seemed the same to them. And basically the Nephilim are fallen angels. Let's see. Yes, here we go. Genesis chapter 6, verse 4. The Nephilim were on the earth both in those days and afterward, when the sons of God came to the daughters of mankind, who bore children to them. They were the powerful men of old, the famous men. Now that's an important line. They were the powerful men of old, the famous men. So this is where my concept idea of the game comes into play. So if you think about it, the famous men and the powerful men of the time, who would they have been? Okay, if you can just kind of get a conceptual idea, I can honestly say, I think it was the mythologies. I think it was Hercules. I think it was Perseus. These men, these great men, who by Greek standard and by the standard of the world, these are great men. These are great people. They're heroes of the world, you know? So yeah, so we're going to do this real quick, sorry. So if you put that in the context of the Bible, of the Nephilim, I'll read it one more time. Were on the earth both in those days and afterward. It's talking about the times of Noah, time of the flood. When the sons of God came to the daughters of mankind, that means the angels, or fallen angels, came down. There's a whole speculation of what the sons of God are. Some people have even called them the Watchers, and that's another thing we'll get into more. I plan on us actually doing some Bible studies for the Cryptid Codex storyline in the future. Anyways, who bore the children to them, being the Nephilim? They were the powerful men of old, the famous men. So, it also does talk about how Nephilim not only found the women beautiful, but also the animals. And this is where my idea comes into play of, well, in that case, and this was also in that podcast, Blurry Creatures, go check them out. In that case, couldn't they also just be the creatures that we heard in the mythologies as well? These great men who were possibly the myths, were these great men were also the hunters of the other Nephilim, or the other monsters, the creatures, like the Chimera. I know it's probably not the best way to show its light, but it fits into the storyline, right? It also had mentioned that the Nephilim, or sorry, the sons of Anak were the descendants of the Nephilim. And so the Anak is one of the tribes of giants. So we read about that more in the Bible later. They kind of just touch on it a little bit there for the sake of getting a story, for the sake of context. Sorry. Again, playing video games and talking Bible stuff is probably not the best idea. But all in all, the concept of it all just kind of comes down to angelic monsters, you could say. They create the perfect position. They create the perfect setting. There we go. Words is hard. They create the perfect setting for a world filled with monsters. So the monsters we see today, in the game that I want to make, Cryptid Codex, monsters we see today are the descendants of the Nephilim, or at least monsters like it. And so at this point, they have become a natural creature. I would say that they are evil and pure evil and stuff like that, but the descendants of the giants did not all die out. They interbred with humans, and to the point of it's now just human DNA. There's no more Anak blood out there. So, and Anak is not the only tribe of giants. There were a lot more. The Rephaim, I think it was the Nephiim. I'd have to look it up again. But you read about it whenever it talks about David and Goliath. Goliath was a youth. Or sorry, no. He fought since the days of his youth. He was an adult at the time. He fought David. Goliath was 9 feet tall. Well, there are stories of giants all over the world. Even in America. Native Americans have stories of giants. And I can say that because I'm Native American. I may not look it, but I am. And there's stories of giants all over the world. And so if you think about it, the Chimera could have just become monsters, and they are also dying out. The different monsters around the world, the mythos, the stories of all these different creatures, they all just died out, you know? And it comes down... Sorry, I keep saying that. I'm just tired. Okay, the Chimera turned to monsters, and they're now on the world, and in the world. So, this kind of gives a really good basis for, well, how do we add this into a world, into a video game? How do we make this into a video game is probably the best way to put this. And I think the best way that can be implemented into a video game is that you guys would be playing as agents for the government or whoever, you know? The way I have it set up is that you are park rangers. And park is going to be an acronym for something. I need to sit down and look more at that. And so, for the sake of the park rangers... Hey. Hold on. Just rude. And so the park rangers have one job. And it is to find these creatures... They don't like doing that, okay. Weird. Is to find the creatures, study them, and find ways of containment. The game... So I've actually already started writing books about this, and I can explain more about the books at another time. Hey, golly, this is not wanting to play with me here. Let's just do one of these right here. Nice. So, in the game, the game is based on a book. I need to come back to that. Sorry. So, the book is the one I'm writing first, and I'm thinking about making it a series of short stories known as the Cryptid Codex. And each book or each series is going to be based on this world, on them building the Cryptid Codex in a way. And I need to find the floating platform. Oh, Cinder. That's nice. They finally added that. I've been waiting for that one to come into the world of the creative mode. Where's the flying platform? I know, I'm sorry. I'm sure this is very entertaining for you guys to have to watch. There was a flying platform. I swear I saw it. Ah, let's try the beginning. So, anyways, the game is going to be set. Sorry. Every time I start to delete something in this game mode, it just all starts to fall apart. So I add these floating platforms as safeguards, you could say. Okay. So, anyways, sorry about that. In the book, it's about a German man. This is around the time whenever the film about the, they're only full portions. I thought they'd be half portions. Take it up. Okay. So, the game is about a German man who came to the States, and he is intrigued because he saw the video of Bigfoot walking in walking in the video. I'd have to look it up again, but I did write down a good amount of the stuff. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. So whenever the whenever the video came and started buzzing around about that whole like, oh, Bigfoot's real or Bigfoot's not real, that whole video where people were trying to figure out if it was a costume or if it was a legit creature or whatever. The book kind of takes place then. I'm planning on it actually starting sooner than then, but for right now, that's when it's starting. And let's see if I can pull it up. Here it is. Okay. So, yeah. It's about a German man named Oscar Schultz. He's come to the States and he has decided that he wants to find this Bigfoot. I'm thinking about making him a maybe like a naturalist or somebody who just studies, is like a zoologist of some kind. And whenever he saw the video of the Bigfoot, that was it. That's all he needed. He was like, "Oh, it's definitely real. Like that's the thing, you know?" And so he comes to the States, and sorry, as he is super excited, he comes to the States, and the book starts with him actually meeting I believe I made her a Navajo woman. She's a park ranger, a legit park ranger. And he meets her and he's like, "Hey, can you take me to the site where, this Bigfoot was found? I believe I know what it is. If it's real, I would love to be able to study it and log its capabilities, like log it. I want to study this." And so the lady, who's a park ranger, she's just kind of like, okay, you know, easy money. I don't mind that. And so she takes him along with him, and he's completely correct. They do see a Bigfoot. Sorry. Okay, so 20. That would be good. 20 by 7. I don't think I like that. Maybe I will. I think I will. So, they go out and they hunt it, and Oscar realizes that the creature is real. And so he decides, holy cow, I'm going to document this thing. He tries to, but he starts to realize that the Bigfoot's not exactly a safe animal. And so he decides, and that's a big reason that he took her along with him. She's kind of the bodyguard. She protects him because she's the park ranger. And so then she starts to freak out. She's like, holy cow, should we tell somebody? And Oscar's like, no, we can't tell anybody, because what if they come for it? What if they know that it's real after you and I find it, and then suddenly this endangered creature is not only endangered, but becomes extinct? Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Let's see what that looks like. If we just built onto it too. It doesn't look too bad. Let's see if I can get a mirror with this. No. Okay. Might be where things get weird. I think we can work with that. So, oh, but then flipping it's gonna be weird. Wait, no, it's not. So, they kind of join forces, and then the German guy's like, so, are you saying that there's a lot of these creatures around? And he and the park ranger lady, they actually team up, and they go out and they hunt these cryptids. They don't exactly kill them, they just kind of study them. They're just, to the German guy, they're just animals. So he gets fascinated, he gets excited about it all. And, ooh, this could actually look really good. What if it's turned this way? Might look weird, but I think I can pull it off. Yeah, it's not bad. We'll give that a try. Yeah, looks pretty good. It's a big platform, so I'm thinking more than just 4 propellers. So, should I have a rounded back? Let's see. Does this look weird? Yeah, that actually looks pretty good. I'll raise it up a little bit more. Might keep it down. Yeah, that's not bad at all. Okay. I think we'll do that. It's not gonna be an easy way to, like, make all this come to a position, but I'll be able to pull it off a little bit. I think we can make it work. I think it's gonna be weird, but I think we can pull it off. We'll see. So, in the book, they start to realize that there are creatures all over the world that are weird or supernatural. And so they want to go and hunt them because they realize that they're not just, monsters, but they're animals. These are actual just creatures. And so he becomes fascinated by all of this. And what is that? Oh, wait, is that the tail part? Oh, I see. Cool. Okay. So we'll go ahead and take this. Nobody's ever going to see out here, but anyways, still. I don't think you can go to the nose, can you? Technically, you cannot. So what if we could rotate this, right? Aha! Ooh. There we go. Hey, this isn't looking too bad. I have to fix the symmetry. Overall, it's not bad. We can work with this. I don't know. Maybe we'll tear it apart and just make our own thing again. We'll make that the front. We'll cut off the back. Make this more battleship looking, Okay. Anyways. Where was I? I was talking about Cryptid Codex. Yes, so they go from city to city, and state to state, and they're looking for these creatures, like the jackalope, the dog man, all these different creatures and stuff like that. Creatures rumored to be evil or, monsters, and so he becomes fascinated with it. The German man, he becomes fascinated with it. He wants to learn everything about all of this, and so. Okay, this could look good. Let's just kidnap all this. Ta-da! Okay. Make it a second level. Make it look pretty good. Working second. Really? Maybe we need to. Well, alright, we'll do this, and then we'll add a second part to it. So, in the book, in the story, what happens is that after so long of them hunting monsters and learning all these different creatures and stuff like that, and I've actually already started the research on this. I've been researching. I don't even know how many I've researched now. I've been researching the different, token monsters or cryptids of every state, and I've come up with a lot of them. And I'm still working on that as well. And there we go. And the way that it's going to work is that. Right, forgot. We're putting this in the back. We'll leave that there for now. So, okay. Yeah, I think that's going to work out pretty good. Might actually replace this one with these. So, golly. Okay, I'm gonna take a break so I can just talk to you guys. I keep getting distracted by this stuff. So, alright, Cryptid Codex. Right, okay, so the German guy and the lady, the park ranger, they actually have gotten married at the point of the story starting. And what it's all about is that they are wanting to branch out get more people involved. And so they put out a work flyer, and it just says, um, hunting monsters, seeing the world, starting pay 45,000 a year. You know, it's not bad. Not bad for like somebody who just needs a job, right? And so a college student picks it up. And the college student is all big about, you know, he wants to go see the world and he's just looking for good pay. I'm thinking he was a football player, maybe baseball. I'm thinking football though. It would fit better for the sake of what his purpose is. And he, during his practice sessions, during his football practice, he hurt his leg, and he used to be a really good football star, but something happens, and it causes an injury, which means he can't play football anymore. So now all of a sudden, school matters a lot more, and he's got to work a lot harder. Well, with all that happening, he just kind of wants to get away, and so a job that travels the world hunting monsters with a nice old couple. It sounds like a breeze. It sounds like a super easy job. So he accepts the job. And they tell him straight up, they're like, hey, look, we are hunting monsters. We're hunting creatures. We're not killing any of them. We're just studying them. We're just trying to find out to make sure where they are. So he's like, yeah, okay, yeah. I'll help you, I'll help you find the monsters and stuff. So they're like, "Oh, perfect, great." You know, they don't. He does not even realize that the monsters are actually real. And so he gets, excited. He's like, "This is gonna be cakewalk, super easy job." Oh, I can't remember that. Okay, let's see. I took that one from this side, so I'm gonna go this. Yes. And so he takes the job, and on their first job, he realizes that these things are real. And then he gets excited because he's like, "Oh man, what else is real?" He's like, is like God real? Are angels real?" And they're like, "Yeah, yeah, it's all real." And he goes, "Wait, are demons real?" Like, "Yes, demons are very real. We don't mess with them though. Those are legitimate monsters, and we don't do anything with them." He's like, "Oh, but like, if Ouija boards work, why not use them?" And the German man will be a Christian, and he'll just kind of, there's a lot of good reasons why we don't use Ouija boards or deal in Satanism. Well, he doesn't listen. The football player does not listen. He gets too excited. He's like, "Man, if this stuff is real, imagine just everything you could do with this." Well, on one of their run-ins, I'm thinking they end up in Louisiana, maybe on Bourbon Street, the place. And how it works is basically he wants to know. He's like, maybe if I can get them information on where a monster is, then they'll start to understand that this stuff works. Like the whole plan with the devil works. We should try that. And the couple's made it very clear that that is not what they want to do. But he's not listening. He's just thinking to himself, well, I still think it could work. So he pushes for it by himself, basically. And it leads to this whole thing of, no. He does get information from, I'm thinking a witch or a medium of some kind in Louisiana about where the skunk ape is, the alleged Bigfoot, the alleged swampy Bigfoot of Louisiana. And so he's like, man, if I could get them to believe this stuff, maybe it is true. Maybe they're wrong. It's like, how awesome would that be if we could get some major help like this? And so he takes the offer. He doesn't tell the elderly couple where he got his information. He just tells them he got information, and it's private and on need to know. Well, the information he got was not for the skunk ape, but for the dog man. And if you know about the dog man, there's so much speculation running around him that he's demonic, that he is not a real animal, but not a real animal, but more so of a fear eater, is what people have labeled him. A creature that traumatizes people and then leaves. Because he'll come back more so than not, more often than not, to just eat the fear. Because he knows he's already traumatized people. And so, so the whole thing goes, why would you want to kill your buffet, you know? And so, he would traumatize, and then he would leave. Well, in this story, I was thinking that could be a really interesting twist if that is what happened. If instead of the skunk ape they go to see, it's the dog man. And nobody's ready for that. Oh man, you can't put Ray in there? Ooh. So, they go to where the information is, supposedly, that the football player found. And there, they realize it's not the skunk ape. Uh-oh, it's the dog man. And so, with this info, I'm thinking something happens. Something that affects more than just the football player. Because I'm planning on making the football player relatively compassionate, but he has moments of selfishness. And so I'm thinking, if somebody gets hurt, other than the football player, that will cause the football player to really take a minute and actually think about his actions. Make him reconsider a lot. And so, I'm thinking either the older German guy, or the Native American park ranger lady's gonna get hurt. And that kind of wakes him up to realize, like, holy cow, this stuff really is not in my favor. And are there any curved pieces? That would be really helpful. I don't think there is. At least I don't think they have any. Oh, well, what was this? Alright, I can work with this. And so, somebody gets hurt, he's gonna feel bad about it, and then it's not looking too bad. That's gonna be his moment that he realizes he really did screw up. But the problem is, it's gonna already have been too late. With a fear eater, its damage has already been done. You can't make a comeback from that, you know? And because it hunts people, traumatizes them, and then leaves, it's following him now. I'm planning for a long time this creature is going to be following him. Let's see, is this going to fit well? Is this going to look weird? Well, so then that's something he has to live with for, I'm thinking either the rest of his life or for a good amount of time of his life. And I have not honestly fully decided whether or not the dogman will actually be demonic, or if he will just be, you know, a scary monster that is not exactly... Sorry, I'm like in lockdown mode for some reason. Please don't delete anything. Okay, sweet. I'll delete some. Oh. So, with the dogman, I haven't decided on whether or not it's actually demonic or just like an interdimensional creature. I haven't decided yet. But overall, it's going to kind of just sort of... Hello, my dearest. Overall, it's just going to kind of... You know, it's gonna follow him for probably the rest of the series, and he's gonna have to live with that. But it'll be really interesting. I feel like a really interesting storyline of, you know, we told you one thing, and you blatantly like disobeyed or decided not to follow what I told you to do. And so throughout the rest of the story, that's kind of how it's going to be. Them just kind of going from city to city, solving mysteries, trying to figure out what monsters it is. It's kind of a Scooby-Doo situation, but a little bit higher stakes, so to speak. Yeah, that looks better. So that kind of leads us into how it's going to work along the lines of in the game. The way I want it to go is, I think it would be really interesting if I made this into a customizable game. So you guys, so I'm thinking this will be a lot later into the future, and players, this will be a lot later into the future, and the way it works now is that you guys are now working for the football player. The football player has kind of taken over the business, and it's become a legitimate business. It's not just a couple of older people working together to figure out monsters, but rather now it's going to be like a full-on company now. So the football player has inherited the business, and you guys are playing as kind of trainees at the beginning, but overall you guys are going into the game and you're going to be helping solve the cases. And the way it's going to work, and this is when I need to fully focus. Okay. So the way it's going to work is that at each crime scene or each level, and I'm thinking about adding only 25 levels for right now. I want to do 50, but that's going to take me a little while, especially if I'm doing this by myself. So each level is going to be a full-on mystery, its own storyline. One of my friends kind of compared it to the game where you're hunting ghosts, and you have to guess what ghost it is by what clues you're given. And so it's kind of like that, but I want it to be more in depth. I want it to be bigger, and with a small storyline connecting it all. You'll be able to customize your own park ranger, and there'll be some hidden stuff in the background. It's going to be kind of a Nancy Drew game where you can walk around and pick up clues, find situations. And the way it's going to work is that you have a book, or not really a book at this point, it'll be a device, known as the Cryptid Codex. And how it would run is that depending on what clues you're given, will point to what creature it is. And if I'm taking, let's see, I am not strong in math. I'm still practicing it right now. I'm pulling up my calculator. So how it's going to work is that there's going to be at least 5 monsters for each state. And how it's all going to turn out is that you are going to be given different clues depending on where you are. You're going to be given different clues depending on what level it is. Those clues will then point to what creature it is that's in the book, the Cryptid Codex. So let's say there's 5 monsters for every state. That puts us at 250 monsters. And so 250 monsters. I'm currently researching all of these. I think right now I have 3 or 4 states done. Mind you, I'm going to each state, looking them up, and then looking up what their key monsters are, you know? I'm from Oklahoma, and I think we kind of have a really weird one I would not think would fit for us. It is the Octopus of Lake Tenkiller. It's so random and so weird, but that's what we're known for apparently in the cryptid world. Um, but basically, the game's going to work that you're given different clues depending on where you are in the game, and it will, depending on where you are, what level you're in. Sorry, again, I am tired. My brain is fried. I've started a new class for Full Sail, for game development, and it's draining me. Great class. I love Full Sail. I think they're doing fantastic, and I really do enjoy it. But I am exhausted. Anyways, the game, depending on what level you're in, you get different clues. Your codex will point to what creature it is. So, for example, let's say that let's say you're in Washington, right? Sorry, I got a text. Anyways, let's say you're in Washington, right? Not DC, but the other one. And you are called out to a cabin by the police. A cabin has been broken into, door's been punched in, there's no claw marks, all the food is gone, and nobody was harmed, right? Sorry if you heard that car honk. We live right next to the road. Anyways, uh, doors punched in, no claw marks, food is gone, another wall was broken out too. And let's say also that there are some broken walls and there were some whistling and loud noises that were heard that sounds like something breaking. Uh, what's up, Courtney? Welcome to the show. So you would take the information you got from that crime scene, and you would put it into the codex. You would say, okay, so let's see. Brute force. It was able to break a door in. So that would cancel out some of the creatures that you were looking for. So it would probably say like, okay, well, it's not the jackalope then. So it would cut it out of possible suspects. And then you would say, ate only the food, no one was harmed. So then it would cut out all the hostile creatures. So Goatman's not in there, and a few other characters aren't in there. Rakua! Yeah, girl. I have an announcement actually coming up soon about the donation you made, and I am greatly appreciative of that. Well, so anyways, back to the game. The way it would work is once you have that information, you plug it into the codex, you have to figure out which creature it is. So in this case, it would probably be Bigfoot. No people were hurt, food was all gone, brute force, cabin, you're in Washington. You would even type in what state you're in, what biome you're in, forest, and then Washington. And so then you could be able to, Washington, sorry, yeah, I just had a brain fart. Anyways, so basically it would all come down to that, is that you take the evidence, you plug it into the codex, you find out what monster it is. But if you get the wrong information or plug in the wrong information, you could be accusing the wrong monster. And in this game, once you have the right information, you send that back to the captain. And the captain will take that information and he will create a form of either containment or repellent. Just kind of keep the creature back in its normal biome, its whole behavioral area. But if you guess the wrong monster, let's say you guessed Bigfoot, but it was something else. There were claw marks or something. Then it would be the Dogman or something. And so you just said it was Bigfoot, but then you find out in a newspaper article later that because you chose the wrong monster, somebody died. That couple came back to the cabin and they were killed that night or something. And so the game will have consequences, but it'll also have rewards. And I think it'll be really interesting because it'll also be based on American history. It'll be based in the States. And then if it gets big, if it does really well, I might even build it up to being in other countries. So then we could go to England, where there are hundreds of cryptids there. It's insane. And the idea of why that's actually the park rangers who are in charge of these creatures, I will touch on in here just in a minute. But for now, I do want to give a huge shout out to Rakua. She went to my coffee account, which coffee is kind of like Patreon or something like that. And sorry, um, they went to the website and they paid the entire donation that we were asking for. And so hopefully by next week we will actually be having this new camera. It's gonna be pretty nice. Rakua donated enough money for us to be able to afford a new camera, and it should be better than the one I have now. And it's going to be a huge help. I really appreciate it. So, huge shout out to Rakua. Very big shout out. Courtney, I have not played Werewolf, but if it's the game I'm thinking of, it's a little bit different. There's not going to be very much action. Probably won't be an action-based game. It's going to be a mystery-based game. So I'll give another example. You guys, your character is called out to Arizona, and they are told that, hey, something has been out here really messing stuff up. It's been breaking some stuff, and we need you to come check this out because this has signs of, you know, some supernatural abilities. Yeah, it was a huge help, Rakua. Thank you very much. And then later we'll put up probably next week or in 2 weeks I'll put up another donation setup. We've got a few different items I'm trying to get, and so spread the word. Get people to come watch, to come hang out. I would love to get to hang out with other gamers, get to talk to them about their opinions and their ideas. Excuse me. So, the example, right? Okay, so Arizona, you've been given an objective. Something looks unnatural. Something looks strange, supernatural almost. Okay, Courtney, that'd be fun. I'd be down. I'm always down for cryptid games and cryptid stuff like that. So, your character then goes to Arizona, and they go to check things out, and you find out that it's a ranch. Um, you go check it out, and there are large scratch marks on the buildings, and yes, thank you very much. I would very much appreciate it. The next thing that we're probably gonna save up for is better lighting. So, just a sec. Okay, sorry about that. Panda came in. She was being very precious. I love her very much, but she's just goofy sometimes. I love her very much. So, anyways, you show up in the game and you find out that it's a ranch and that horses are being terrorized. Barn is kind of torn up. There's scratch marks everywhere, and yeah, but there's no footprints, and so that's kind of a big deal, right? And so you go around the little map, the little area, and you realize that some of the yeah, I do too, Rakua. And you realize that what few trees there are around, they look like they've been pushed over, but from the air or something. And you realize you're in Arizona. There's no footprints, but there's scratch marks. There's been a horse that's been mutilated. So, what does this evidence point to? Arizona, deserty area, no footprints, scratch marks. So, that would point to it's probably flying. It's in a deserted area. So, it's probably the Thunderbird. And you can look this up in your codex. I'm not saying you have to know this by memory. So, you would type in, "Hey, I think it's a Thunderbird. We should get some sort of repellent out here soon." And, you know, such and such. That'll be the conclusion of the game. You have to go around the map and find the clues, but I'm not just going to hand you the clues in the game, you know? You're going to have to work for it and find it. I know, yeah. There's going to be death in my games. It's gonna be hardcore. Watch out. Christian company with death in it? It's realistic? What? That's not right. You shouldn't have realistic things in your game that point to realistic themes and things that happen in the real world. That's bad. That is probably what every Christian game company has told themselves. I've actually not gotten to play a whole lot of Christian games. The ones that I did get to play were pretty cheesy. However, there was one game that was the bomb. It was the one game that was the bomb was called Adventures in Odyssey. It was based on the radio show. If you don't know the radio show, you had a very disappointing childhood, because it was fantastic. This was back in the day of cassettes, people. Cassettes! Loved it! I still have a Walkman. I listen to it every now and then. I love it. So, a bit dramatic, but that's what I am. So, if you guys have seen any Christian video games out there, I would love to see them. Love to watch some with you. Love to play some of them. But, you know, from what I have seen in the past, it's just been disappointing. Some TV shows and books, they're too scared to touch some of this stuff. I'm not talking like Frank Peretti. Frank Peretti was a fantastic writer. Probably is still writing. I don't know. I don't know anything about him today. But love Frank Peretti. His stuff is fantastic. If you want a really crazy book that keeps you on the edge of your seat, go read the book Monster by Frank Peretti. Fantastic. I love that book. Probably another reason I'm addicted to monster stuff today. So, yeah. I don't know. I've just been very disappointed in the way that some things are conducted Christian-wise. It's like we have to sugarcoat everything. Or if not sugarcoat everything, wrap it in bubble wrap, proverbial bubble wrap so much you don't even know what you're looking at anymore. It's not real. It's not realistic. So I'm not a huge fan of the God's Not Dead movies. Like, right now, I'm going to a college that I don't think is really going to support Christian beliefs. But what's funny is that they're not discouraging it, you know? I don't have a professor who walks in day one and goes, God is dead! Which, if you haven't seen the movie God's Not Dead, that's literally what happens. And it was ridiculous. I don't know. It was not realistic to me, and it just cracked me up. And then the fact that, like, his girlfriend just did not support him at all, even though she was supposed to be a Christian too. It was cracking me up. I was like, this is not realistic and weird. I don't know. Can you tell I wasn't a huge fan of the God's Not Dead movies? It's alright. It's okay, Courtney. If it makes you feel better, I know that nobody has really heard of the Adventures in Odyssey series. I just like giving people a hard time, because I grew up with those stories and I loved them. Thought they were some of the greatest stories ever. So, don't feel too bad that your life was deprived of this joy that is known as Adventures in Odyssey. It was beautiful. Yeah, Rakua, I just now saw that, and it was, yeah, that's exactly how I feel. The Bible is full of violent depictions and realistic situations, but the difference between that and the world is that it doesn't glorify the violence. I don't plan on glorifying violence, but I do plan on making it realistic. Glorification of violence would probably be like Call of Duty, or Warhammer, or even Helldivers. They all glorify violence, yeah. I mean, a lot of the world um, kind of thrives on the idea that, oh wow, that's stinking cool. That, you know, that guy just walked away from a huge explosion that probably killed 8 people. Like, it is intense. It's over the top. But at the same time, yeah, I do enjoy it too. It is glorification of violence, and there's not really any way you can sugarcoat that. I think I should have put that on the bottom floor. Dang, that's what I should have done. I'm gonna replace these. Oh, you can keep those rails there. That's pretty nice. Yeah, I'm gonna leave those there. Sorry. Game dev mind kind of took over for a second there. I don't remember what I was talking about, but that's okay. So, a lot of this is kind of just rambling. It's just me talking about stuff that I enjoy, that I like, but I also want to create and make it into a good game, you know? I feel like a lot of the times that the world is... That's what I was talking about, how realistic the Bible is, but it's also gory. It's realistic, people. I feel like the most violent thing that we've ever gotten, what's the word? The most violent thing we've ever gotten, entertainment-wise, that's also Christian, was either Narnia or Bible Man. And don't get me wrong, I actually really enjoyed the Narnia movies, but I don't know. I also grew up watching Bible Man, and looking back on it, I was like, this is the weirdest stuff, man. I didn't hate it. I just thought it was really weird. I think today, you could take Bible Man and make him a legit cool character. Probably not call him Bible Man. Probably something like, I don't know, Veritas or Azrael. I don't know. Something over the top and Christian. I just think it could be done a lot better. I think there's potential with Bible Man. I'm not saying use Bible Man exactly, but he has potential. There is something there that I think is very appealing, very interesting. Oh, this one's curved. That's very cool. Let's take this over here. We'll use that for sure. I don't know on what yet, but I'm just gonna set it here for now. I think it can go there pretty nicely. Yeah, I think this could set up pretty nice. Yeah, it's looking pretty good right there. So, I don't know. I'm just disappointed in a lot of, I don't want to say lazy, I guess kind of tied that the biblical cinema world has become. They just they can't depict a whole lot of stuff without it being unbiblical or bad or whatever. I don't know. If you guys have seen cinema that's pretty intense or realistic, that's also biblical, that's not just a recreation of the crucifixion, shoot it my way. I would love to be able to see some of this stuff. I know there's a company right now that's actually making a video game that is, I think it's a walkthrough of the Bible. Of the Bible? I don't remember. But again, it just kind of came down to me like, this sounds fun. I don't want to dog on them, but at the same time, I'm tired of these gaming companies being lazy, especially Christian game companies. They've got the greatest. They have the greatest inspiration, which is the Bible, and they don't. Most Christian companies don't do hardly anything with it. It's just a huge disappointment. So, That's why I'm wanting to build it. That's why I'm wanting to do some crazy stuff, man. I want to take the Bible and make games about the stories nobody talks about, you know? I want, so in the game that I'm making that is PvE, or you know, the team-based one, it's the one that I'm making this Fortnite game for. That's kind of a player versus bots work together situation. In that game, I'm actually planning on making it very intense, because it is about the end times technically, but it's also going to be biblically accurate. So it's going to be gritty, it's going to be dirty, it's going to be insane. I'm actually studying eschatology right now because my sister is super smart and told me what eschatology is, because I had no idea what it was. I just like saying eschatology. And it's the study of the end times, the biblical end times. And I have started studying it, and I think it's absolutely fascinating. I think it's so cool. I'm going to delve into it a lot more next week, because I'm trying to just build my schedule right now with how often school is adapting and changing without me. What does that look like myself? Oh, that looks weird. With how often school is adapting and changing and what have you. Okay. I don't know. We'll come back to it. What was I talking about? The new game, eschatology, storyline, studying. Okay, yeah. So there's really intense stuff in the Bible, and I think some game companies are either scared or just intimidated, or I don't know. I almost want to say that they're just afraid that they'll misinterpret something, so they don't even want to try. But like, that's why I'm studying eschatology. I don't know anything about eschatology. I only just figured it out recently because my sister told me to study it if I'm going to be making a video game about the end times. And I have started studying it, and I think it's absolutely fascinating. It's just about the biblical end times, and yeah, this was the one I was looking for. And the reason I'm studying it is because, yeah, nobody knows 100% what the end is going to look like, the end times is going to look like, but if... Oh, yeah. Yeah, Rakua. Yeah, that movie does get me, but if you think about it, like, the only movies we have that are intense or very heartfelt is, like, constant recreations of the crucifixion. I'm not saying I don't love those movies, I'm not saying they're not good, I'm just saying I want more. And I'm not given more, you know? Let's turn this around a little bit. There we go. Yeah, that's gonna look pretty good. Gonna start out here, choose what level we go to. That's a good point, Courtney. Yeah. I could definitely see that. I don't know if they're just, like, afraid to just... I don't know if they're afraid of getting things inaccurate, or if they're afraid that the biblical soccer moms are going to come at them, or the pastors are going to say, well, this was incorrect. I'm like, well, you know. And I am also worried about that, but I still want to do it. I still feel like if I don't do it, I'm going to go crazy. I've got all these different ideas for biblically based games. That's why I'm saying biblically based, not biblically accurate, because I know that, you know, I wasn't there. no matter how much studying I do, I don't think anybody can actually get enough details to give a perfect description of what it looks like. Like, to give the exact idea of what something looks like in the Bible. I think we have the crucifixion down pretty well because we have the historical documents of what a crucifixion looked like. But Revelation hadn't happened yet. We don't have documentation of the clan of Anak, of the Rephaim, of the Nephilim, you know? We can only speculate what the giants looked like. And I want to do that. I want to speculate that. I want to take these ideas and build them, you know? So much of the world is afraid to talk. So many Christians are afraid to talk about stuff that is in the Bible, you know? Like, the Nephilim. We don't hardly ever talk about the Nephilim. But almost every Christian knows that they're real. I've heard some churches actually state, we don't talk about the Nephilim. You know, they're not a part of the real Bible. I've heard that before. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Because from what I remember, yeah, they are real, actually. The Bible states that very plainly. And it drives me crazy. I want to talk about this stuff. I want to learn about this stuff. I know it's scary because it's real. And like, in other video games I do, and in some stories that I write, people talk about like, well, necromancy's not real. You know, talking to the dead's not real. Yes, it is. The Bible doesn't say don't do this stuff because it's not real. It says don't do this. Like, factually, this is what is real. Recruit, yeah. Yeah, and I've got some different opinions about that too. Like, I think some angels look like that. I think some don't. I think with how a lot of our depictions of angels are from a vision that hasn't happened yet, I don't feel like everything in Revelation is literal. And so, like, the verses that are talking about the angels of multi-wings or the angels with, you know, covered in eyes, I don't feel like that's always an accurate depiction of what they look like. I feel like that's just what John could see, because that's all that John could comprehend, you know? So it... Sorry, I got distracted for a second there. And so, like, I hear a lot of people... I've heard a lot of secular people say, like, well, angels look weird and da-da-da, and Satan looks like da-da-da. Like, we don't actually know. Those are all depictions from a vision of a guy who couldn't comprehend what he was seeing because it was so intense, because it was so much of the future. I mean, there's one part where he says, and I was given a scroll, and the angel told me to eat of it. It's like, and then he ate it. Do you think he, like, literally ate it? Or do you think he consumed the word? I don't know. I don't know. That's the thing. So much of Revelation is speculation because we're not there. We haven't seen it. But there's so much that we can predict and so much that we can understand because of John's descriptions. And so, like, with the games I want to make that are biblically themed, I think it could fit so well. I think there's so much in the Bible that's basically Narnia. That's basically fantasy, but it's real. It happened. Like, we have evidence of this stuff happening, of this crazy stuff happening. Like, in the Native American, Native Americans have stories about people who were giants, and that the last of the giants that were killed in America was by a tribe, was by a group, sorry, was by a tribe of Indians known as the Shawnee. And they were the last to kill, they were the ones to kill the last of the giants. We've got evidence of this all over the world. And so to say that, like, we're not going to talk about that part of the Bible because it's hard, that's ridiculous. This is evidence that we've been given, that God's given to us to decipher. And this is the part that gets me so excited and so ramped up. I love this stuff. Exactly, Rakua. Yeah, we should know what we need to know. I feel like a lot of this spiritual stuff and creatures and monsters like that in the Bible, I feel like that's stuff we need to know, you know? I feel like that's kind of important, that demonic communication is real, that demonic possession is real. It's not saying that the Bible's not saying that they're not real, it's saying that they are, and don't mess with it. It's insane. It's crazy stuff that this is real. And I love it. Courtney says, I think they'd be afraid, like how if a game is unintentionally racist, it won't succeed. The fear of people that aren't Christians will lash out and the game won't do well, you know? It's that fear of the unknown. Yeah. Courtney, I'd agree. Yeah, I would say a lot of companies are afraid of that too. But, you know, this is where it gets disappointing. Because there are companies that stepped out, made something outrageous, and they were completely successful. This is where gaming companies are just failing, all right? Look, you got me going now. Gaming companies are failing because they have lost their zeal, their fervor, their drive to try and make something new, to create experiences for their players, and they're screwing up. They don't even want to try anymore. Concord, what did they do? They made the game's demographic so large that nobody wanted it. Nobody wanted to play it. Exactly, yeah. And I'm going to mention that as well, Courtney, about the Nephilim. So these gaming companies, they just don't care. Concord came out, and it was supposed to do really well. You know, they said, "Oh, look, we've got this so that it appeals to everybody." What happens when something appeals to everyone? No one wants it because these games are designed for an experience based on somebody's interests. If the interests are watered down and they just cram more interests in it, that's boring. Nobody wants to do that. Then now if you take something that's a little bit more niche, like I want to play a game about strategy, you know, okay, that's where Civilization comes into play. It's a game about strategy. Not everybody likes strategy. Not everybody likes historical based games. But they made it. It was kind of out there. It was a little different, especially since originally it was single player. And then, boom, it exploded. They did so good. Some people found out that they like strategy games because they didn't even know if they did in the first place. This company stepped out, tried something new, and it worked. Warframe is another good example of this. This game does not appeal to everybody, but it has some forms of appealing aspects. The game is designed as a campaign against bots, not against other players. There is PvP, but it's not as big a deal as the PvE. And they show this. They show the work that they put into it. They stepped out. They kind of started to make their own thing. The game technically started as another name. I think it was called Dark Star. Don't quote me on that. It was different. It's very different. So the humans, it was originally that the Warframes were actually humans, and they were in their own game style. It was that still that sort of third person looter shooter sword and gun sort of thing. This came out before Destiny. Well, the company didn't do so great. They did kind of have to do that sad part of the game development and shut down their game and go work for other companies. They stepped out. They had a good idea, just wasn't well funded, wasn't well published. And then they got to come back later after they raised enough money for themselves and they made Warframe, a free game where you can earn everything. You don't have to pay for anything, but you can. That changed the gaming market. Warframe definitely tripped some people up. It was the top free game for the longest time on at least Xbox. I'd have to look at other consoles. It was in the top 5. Excuse me, I misspoke there. It was in the top 5 free games, and right up there with Crossout, World of Tanks, Fortnite, and I can't remember what the other game was right now. But it's probably, I can't think of it right now. But they stepped out. They got to fund themselves. They made a very, very niche game, and it also exploded. And so there's no. The big thing is that companies today, of they're scared of trying things new because a lot of their money comes from bigger corporations and political parties now. And you can see it. They are pandering so much to every demographic that it's not fun anymore. It's not experimental. It's not exciting. It's disappointing. Call of Duty was the same way for a while. For the past, I'd say 4 or 5 games, it was the same game reskinned. They could have just made it all the different DLCs, but then they came out with a Black Ops 6, where they added new forms of motion. They brought back an old form of maps, and they brought back zombies, the old form of zombies. And this was kind of out there because they're going back to a game style that a lot of people kind of thought they retired. They listen to their players. What? Gaming companies listening to their players? That's pretty rare today. I could go all night about this stuff, but ugh. It's crazy. I'm just disappointed. These companies have so much talent, so much money, and they squander it for deadlines. It kind of makes me sad and a little bit mad that these companies are becoming so careless with their capabilities that they're willing and able to just throw games away. And they think players are just going to eat it up. They have what I've been calling fail money, where they can come out, put out a dumb game or a bad game, and then suddenly it's like the company wasn't hit very hard whenever sales don't go well for them. But that's kind of where Battlefield's going right now. I feel like this next game is probably going to be a make or break moment for them. Battlefield 2042 did not do very good. And before that, they did Battlefield 5, which had, I think, one of the worst starting releases on, like, gameplay. How many people were playing when it released. It was bad. And then 2042 came out after that. And 2042 was alright. I thought the gameplay was fun. I think the vehicles are a lot of fun. But, I don't know. It's weird. It was kind of the same way. Kind of disappointing. They promised a lot more, and I feel like it was on budget. I don't feel like we got the whole game, at least not on release. I feel like they've patched it a lot to where the game's fun now, but when it released I don't feel like it lived up to expectations. I feel like this next Battlefield game is going to be the make or break moment for them. And oof. Then you got other games like Star Wars Outlaws and don't get me started. I'm here to talk about my game, but I will always take a minute to harp on big companies that have so much money that they forget that they're working for the players. Well, it's about time for me to wrap things up soon. Probably wrap it up about probably 1:45 as an hour. Sorry. That'd be 9:45. Yeah. So, I don't know. I just wish companies cared enough to actually pay attention and listen to their players, you know? You got one job, guys. You got one job. You got this. Don't screw it up any more than you already have. I don't know. I don't know if Cryptid Codex is going to do very well. It's also that kind of niche style of a game. But it will be biblically themed. My big thing is that, like, I would love to be able to work for a Christian company. There we go. My only fear is that that company would tell me what I can or can't do in the sense of, like, storyline or ideas. I feel like they would try to tell me, you can't actually talk like that because we're a Christian game and characters shouldn't cuss. And like, yeah, I don't really want to add cussing to my games, but in all reality, that's what a lot of people do. And like, I used to work on an assembly line, and I have learned firsthand that people cuss like sailors. And granted, I don't cuss. I might say some crude words every now and then, but I don't know. I know we're not supposed to be cussing and all. And then like, I don't know. I'll probably still add it to my games because that's realistic. That's what happens. That's the real world. I do want realism in my games, despite the fact that, you know, a lot of people don't want that in their Christian-based games. Oh, I guess there's not any triangle-based floors. I don't know. Maybe I'm just ranting at this point. I should probably just cool it. I guess if anywhere is the best place to rant, it'd be here, wouldn't it? But who knows? Maybe I'll apply for a Christian gaming company, and they're like, "Yeah, we agree with you. We think this is a great idea." I'd be like, "Okay, cool. That was very surprising. That'd be really cool." Yeah, I mean, I don't. Yeah, that would definitely be true. If I stream GTA at any point, at least any point soon, if I ever stream GTA soon, I'm gonna have to wait till I have a good editing software, and that I know that the people I play with are not gonna cuss. It's not even Rakua. I know Rakua's not gonna cuss. It's this other guy we play with. He's a lot of fun, but he's gotta cool it a little bit, you know? Relax, guy. Let's see, I feel like I can turn this vertically and use this. Yeah. Yeah, I guess, like, it's weird because I would allow cussing in my games, but I also, like, wouldn't let my... Probably, if I ever have a son, probably wouldn't let my son play the games until they're older. Okay, so that can turn that way. Can I change the way it rotates still? I don't feel like it'll let me. Oh, dang it. Okay. I guess because it's all... What? It just magically disappears. Yeah. That gun. No, not grid snap. There we go. No. Gosh, I'm probably making this a lot harder on myself than it needs to be. There we go. I feel like it's sitting... What? Why is it angled? Oh my gracious. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Alright, forget it. I'm starting over. I'm gonna go get a different gun. That is ridiculous. There we go. Thank you. But, sorry, I got super distracted by that for a second there. Yeah, that looks pretty good, actually. So, I don't know. Oh! I see that. I saw that. I saw that, Courtney. You inappropriate young lady. That's hilarious, though. I still watch The Office. There we go. That'll probably do it. Might be overkill, but I like it. So, yeah. Welcome to Grumpy Grizz's Rants. I don't know. I was talking about this with another viewer of mine, a good friend of mine actually. He was saying that it would be nice if there were some other games out there that were Christian based, but also not boring. If you guys have ever seen any Christian games you think I should try out, let me know. I would love to try some. I would love streaming them, see if there's any good qualities to them. I'd be very doubtful if it's anything like the Lifeway shows or movies. I would sadly be very disbelieving, you could say. Ugh. Yeah. The world's crazy, y'all. I just want to make video games. What's this one, actually? That looks pretty good. So yeah. Cryptid Codex. I hope that game works out. I don't know. Maybe sometime we'll do a stream where I'm researching more of the monsters. And we can just read over the weird monsters of the different states together. That sounds fun. But I'd also be afraid to try and search things. Because like, I can't stop everything that shows up on the internet, you know? See, originally this part was going to be the front. But I'm liking it more as the back for some reason. Thinking that way being the front looks better. Once I figure out how to make the end game event for the actual game mode, I'll be able to publish this game. But I also would like to build this. The goal is for this to be able to... Let's see. Hey! There we go. The goal would be to be able to have this map that I'm working on right now as a... kind of a pre-game lobby. So we'll probably add... Let's see, we'll probably add some kind of plane or something. So we'll say I've landed here. Probably a helicopter. I feel like that makes more sense. Let's see if we can find a helicopter. I don't think there's any pre-built small helicopters. But to make this a pregame lobby, where you can just pick each of the different levels that you want to play, just from here. And the other place will just kind of be like a go from this point on into the game mode. It'll be a training level, the first one that you get to go to. I don't think there's any planes. Dang. Not even a helicopter. Might just have to make one, I guess. How big are these? Those are pretty good size. Oh, and you can't even put them on anything. So, looks like we're making our own plane. Let's see, this could be shrunk, right? Alright, to a good size. There's a, maybe we can make it into like a micro carrier. That could be kind of people to use some of this stuff. I don't know. It's about that time, anyways. Thanks, you guys. Thank you guys for watching so much. Really appreciate you guys supporting the Grumpy Grizz channel. Building into the Chimera Studios. I'm gonna this way. Bam. Chimera. Scary mythos. Whatnot. Next session, next stream will be. I'm gonna stream every Thursday this month. I already did stream this Thursday this week. I'm gonna stream every Thursday this month. Sorry, and I plan on talking about each of the 3 games that I want to make while I'm streaming. So I hope I made Cryptid Codex make sense. If I didn't, I would love to be able to expand upon that more. Once these 3 sessions are up, these 3 streams coming up this month, in November, I'll probably actually just sit down, not game or anything, but have maybe my Word doc up with all my notes, and we can read through the storyline together. That could be fun. We'll see what happens. For now, I think that's about all we got for this game session. I will keep working on these game modes, and hopefully I'll be able to publish soon. That'd be awesome. Could really use y'all's prayer right now. I'm gonna go ahead and do this now. Put in a prayer request you have in the chat if you want to. If you don't have a prayer request or you don't feel like sharing anything publicly, that's perfectly fine. I'm still gonna be praying for you guys. Really appreciate all of you. Love you guys. Go follow the Instagram account, but I now have one on TikTok as well. And once I have some better editing software and a computer that can handle it, I will be posting on all of those a lot more. So, really thank you guys. Yeah, cool. Yeah, I could read my D&D notes so you guys can hear all the storylines I'm writing for Dungeons and Dragons. Okay, gotcha, Rakua. Prayers to get through midterms will do. My prayer request is financial stability. That's our big issue right now. So, appreciate you, sister. Love you. Love you guys all. I'm going to give it a few more minutes for you guys to type in some prayer requests if you have any. If not, it's all good. God bless you. And stay grumpy, y'all.